Today, we are going to talk about how to secure your computer, your operating system, specifically Windows. Here's the deal. Look, if you are concerned at all about your security, about your privacy, and about, whether or not attackers can get into any of your stuff, this is for you. Okay. These are like the base level things that is a checklist that everybody can do when they're securing their computer. And here's the deal. Every single device you have, that's an attack point. And every single device can have multiple different attack points. We call that an attack surface, right? So it can have multiple different attack points that threat actors, hackers can use to get into your device and steal your shit. Okay. They can steal your they can do your keystrokes, get your username and password. And guess what? If you use the same password to log into your computer as you do to log into your bank account, they're going to try that. They're going to see different websites where your email is addressed to, your email address is used. I have to learn how to talk. You really, 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 whether you're, 80 years old, 30 years old, or a high school student, understand how vulnerable you can be so you can actually protect your stuff. All right. So you can take responsibility for yourself and get your security together. Okay. So if you don't know anything about security, if you don't know anything about privacy, if you don't understand why you need a VPN when you're going to the local coffee shop, this video is for you, and that's great. If you're a cybersecurity expert, this video isn't for you, and you should already know what you're doing. I'm just kidding. This video is for everybody. Even the security guys security people should understand what to do. So that's what this is going to be about. Okay. So we got a checklist. We're going to run through this. One thing I want to explain is that every network and device that your device comes in contact with, and I'm not just talking about computer, I'm talking about mobile phone, your smartwatch that you wear on your wrist, all that jazz. They could be infected, and it could get you infected. Basically, treat every network and every device that you touch like it's got an STD, and this is just you putting on the condom to make sure that you don't get STDs. If you don't know what STDs are, you need to research that. Anyways, so we're on a Windows 11 computer. This is my Windows 11 computer, and this is actually the one that I work on for the most part. So first things first, we're going to talk about patches and updates. Microsoft releases patches every once in a while. Okay. Usually I think it's every Tuesday. But it's very simple. If you go into the search bar at the bottom of your screen and just type in update, you can choose check for. Okay. So funny thing, I got so excited to record this video that I didn't even explain why patches and updates are important. So real quick, oftentimes when patches and updates are released, they have bug fixes in them, right? So they are updates to work well with applications you have installed. Maybe there's a known bug that's on the system that needs to be patched so that it runs better. Maybe there's just a piece of code that's causing an issue and it's just not working properly. One of the big things that comes along with those bug fixes are security updates. Oftentimes, security researchers and professionals find vulnerabilities and issues within operating systems to be able to then send out an update because that vulnerability could be exploited. And obviously, if they send out the update and the patch as quickly as possible, then that security vulnerability that has been discovered has been plugged and hackers don't get into your shit. So that's really important. And that's why patches and updates exist. For updates. So I go here and right there, look, you can already see, and yes, I'm showing you guys that I'm working on a specific type of computer, but basically, you can up here, typically you can choose, check for updates and it will check for updates. Clearly I have an update that's already been installed and I just need to restart it. Now, restarting it is different than shutting it off. Big difference there. So you need to restart your computer once the updates are installed to actually get them to work. Okay. So keep that in mind. Restart, not shut down. Okay. Restarting the computer is what finishes updating and installing them. All right. But definitely, once a week on like a Friday, every Friday, just go in and to the Windows update and click check for updates. And it should check for updates not only for your Windows system, but also for the hardware. If there's BIOS updates and things like that. We'll talk about BIOS here in a little bit. Next thing I want to talk about, encryption. And I'm sure you've heard this talked about a lot. I'm sure you've heard the word encryption thrown around all the time. Drink. That was rude, but all of you are fine. Encryption basically ensures that if anyone got onto your computer and stole your files, they cannot see what those files are. So encrypting it protects the information. All right. Now, there's a couple of things you can do as far as encryption on here. Here at the search bar at the top of the settings window, I'm just going to type in encryption. And look, we've got device encryption settings. Okay. If I click on that, oh, look, device encryption is turned on. That's great. So it's going to encrypt my files. The other thing is what's known as BitLocker. Now, what I'll say, it's smart to encrypt your entire hard drive. That is smart. You want everything on your computer encrypted. However, there's different ways to go about that. So there's a very popular software known as VeraCrypt. VeraCrypt you can create like volumes, basically like really big files, but volumes that are encrypted, and you can put data in there. And you can also use VeraCrypt to encrypt the entire hard drive. One thing I'll say, VeraCrypt is amazing, but in my experience, when I've used VeraCrypt to encrypt my entire hard drive, it really slows things down. All right. Usually, if there's an encryption software that's proprietary, that was made by the company whose operating system you're using, you want to go that way. Okay. So Microsoft has BitLocker. I think Apple has FileVault. I think it's FileVault. Basically, you can click on Manage BitLocker, and it's going to pop up this window. Now, I have BitLocker enabled on this device. So you can see here, it's BitLocker is on. Okay. If it wasn't on, they would give you the option to enable BitLocker. All right. So, BitLocker does not come with the standard edition of Windows 11. That's important. You've got to have Windows Professional. Now, Windows Professional is, I think it's $99 or $100. Okay. You pay it once, you have it forever, and then you can use BitLocker to encrypt. If you don't have that kind of cash right now, then guess what? You can go into Google, type in VeraCrypt. In fact, I'll do it right now. Okay, VeraCrypt. And here's VeraCrypt, free open source disk encryption right here. And you can download VeraCrypt. You can go to downloads, you can download VeraCrypt, you can get it installed, and you can encrypt your entire hard drive. You can do that. I just noticed slower performance. I prefer using the proprietary stuff because it works better, but you can absolutely do that if you don't want to spend the money, because VeraCrypt is free. You can encrypt your entire hard drive for free. Okay. But that is one thing, is I would go and I would get encryption set on your device. Okay, so next up, unused applications. So here in the settings menu, we're going to go to apps, and we're going to click on installed apps. Now you can see you can see all the things that I have installed in here, and you can tell, like, not only do I have Adobe, but I've got Autopsy, which is a security tool for digital forensics. I use Brave Browser. I've got Kaido. So those are all tools that we use in the security realm. But basically what you want to do, so this is a list of all the applications that are installed on here. And typically an operating system like a new computer will come with applications that are just installed stock, right? So go through and peruse all these applications. And you know what? If there's an application on here that you don't use, you can completely uninstall it. Okay. You just click the three dots and you can click uninstall. Now, here's something I'll say. There are things on here like Dolby Vision PQ Config Installer, Dolby Vision Provisioning Utility. These are things that on the surface, I look at it and I say, well, that's not something I use, but it may be something that's integral that I don't understand. So it may be important, right? So Dolby is clearly that's something used to heighten the video quality, right? Or the sound quality on my computer. So I may not necessarily want to delete that. Okay. Now there's something here called Family, which is from the Microsoft Corporation. There's something here called Feedback Hub, also from the Microsoft Corporation. I don't know if that's important or not. It may be, but it may not be. So you know what you can do? You can go to Google and you can type in Family application from the Microsoft Corporation, see what it is, and if it's not something you need, you can delete it, okay? Or if it's something that has to be on Windows 11, you will find out. But that's part of it, is do your research. And you know what? It's very possible, because this has happened before. You may find an application and you can see, oh, it's from, a company like, this is Dolby Laboratories. We know what Dolby is, but it could be from a company that you have no idea what they do or where this application came from. And that can be an indicator that maybe you've got an application that's running malware, running exploits on your computer that you didn't realize. That can be important. So that's definitely why we want to look through the unused apps. Okay. All right. Next up, we want to make sure that our open ports that we don't need open are closed. Okay. Nmap is a perfect tool for that. Now, we're operating on a Windows operating system. That was a weird way to say that. We're going to ignore all of my pauses. Or maybe I'll edit them out. I don't know. Or maybe I'll keep them in. We'll see. Basically, ports show there are ports on our computer that listen for connections, right? And there are ports that run services. And oftentimes we could have ports that are just open and anybody could connect to them on our computer and we don't realize it. So we need to see what our open ports are, and we have to be able to disable those open ports, right? So ZenMap is a great way to do that. Now, Nmap obviously is the program, and I'm sure any of you that have done anything with cybersecurity, you've probably learned how to work in a Linux terminal and used Nmap. ZenMap is the GUI version. It's the graphical user interface version that you can get on Windows and Mac. Okay, so I'm going to open this up, and I'm going to type in ZenMap. And we're going to wait for it to load. And there it is. So I can do a scan on my own computer. Okay. So I'm going to do localhost. And down here, I'm going to change the tags. Whoops. So I'm leaving it on the thread timing the timing is 4. Okay. Because I don't, with Nmap, 1 is very slow, but it's quiet. 5 is like very quick, but loud. I'm putting it at 4. We don't need to, we're doing a scan on our own computer. We don't have to worry about being careful. Okay. But, I've set it, the target is localhost, which is this computer, right? So nmap-t4, and I'm going to choose the tag S_V. So that means that not only is it going to show me the open ports, it's going to show me the service and the version of that service that is running on those ports. Okay. That's going to be important. And then I'm going to do -p-. What that means, when you run Nmap or ZenMap just as is, it only scans, I think, the top 1,000 ports. I mean, it's top 10,000. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it only scans a certain number of ports. In reality, there's over 65,000 ports. Okay. So doing -p- tells it run the scan on all the ports. So we're going to get that started. I'm going to click scan and we're just going to let it run. Okay. For you, that seemed like no time passing at all. For me, that took forever. So be prepared that this is going to take a while. Okay. So look at this. I now can see every port that is open on my computer. All right. That's crazy. Now, you can see the service. We've got MSRPC, NetBIOS, Microsoft ES. Oh, look, a couple of the VMware stuff that I use. A lot of these things for me need to remain open because I use them for my work, right? For my security research work. These may not need to be open for you. Now, I wouldn't immediately go and just start closing all of these ports. Again, Google is your best friend. I am always going to say that. Google is your best friend. You've got Google. You literally have the culmination of human information at the tip of your fingertips in Google. So you know what you can do? You can type in the port number, it's open, and what is Microsoft Windows RPC? What does it do? Because you may think, oh, this isn't something I use, so I need to close it, but it may be something that helps the services run. And so you actually do need it open. And this is part of where you're going to have to learn about networking, right? But you can see all these open ports. We need to close the ports that we don't use. Now, how do you close ports that you do not use? Well, in Windows, there's a command line. Oh, let's see what it is here. For closing ports, right? Let's see. So we're going to pause real quick. Aha. Okay. So I've opened up a command prompt. I went into the search bar, clicked on command prompt, and then chose to run as administrator. Okay. So here in command prompt, there's a way to find out, what the ports are, the TCP and the UD ports via Windows command. And essentially, if you know the port that you want to free or close, you can run this command. It's, let's see. netstat-ano, and then pipe that into find string. Let's see, what's a port that I have open? 9080. So you can see here, I've got all these ports, right? Here's the port numbers. So I'm typing in 9080 because I've got port 9080 open. Okay. And I hit enter. Enter. There we go. Now I can see that port 9080 is listening. Okay. It's a port that's open, that's listening, but I do not want it open. Now this right here, so this is the process ID 6524. So if I wanted to close this port, I could type in task kill /PID for process ID, and then type in the process ID 6524 /F. Okay. That right there will kill the process that is running on the port. Okay. And it'll close that port. So that's something you can do to close open ports. Now, again, do not just start going and doing that on every freaking port that you've got open. Okay. That is that's a little ridiculous. All right. You could totally screw things up. You could destroy your computer. You could do some damage. You don't want to do any of that. But that will at least start to harden your system. Now we've got some more things to go through. This is just part 1. We're going to do part 2. But this is how you make your computer more secure. And I'm going to say this very quickly. Do not just go and start doing all of these things and thinking that you're making yourself secure. Like I said, you may be, changing things or doing things that are actually going to fuck up your computer, and it won't work right. And then you're going to have to pay some IT or security person to come in and figure out how you fucked it up and ask you to reproduce the steps and blah, blah, blah. Research, research, research. Okay. Research the services that are running on your computer, research the applications that you found, research the patches and the updates that you do. Make sure that you actually understand what you're doing before you do it. But if you start to go through this checklist, you're going to be more secure, and hackers aren't going to steal your shit.